Commander Maya Brooks arrived at Naval Station Harbor Point just as the evening sky faded into deep blue. The waterfront shimmered beneath rows of ceremonial lights, and the grand hall overlooking the harbor buzzed with conversation. Senior officers from every branch of the armed forces gathered for the annual Joint Leadership Gala, an event celebrating decades of service, strategic partnerships, and distinguished careers. Uniforms gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers, medals reflected soft light, and military reporters moved carefully through the crowd, documenting the evening's highlights. Every guest carried an air of confidence, but Maya entered without drawing attention to herself. She walked with steady purpose, her posture straight, her expression calm, and every detail of her navy dress uniform perfectly arranged. The silver oak leaves on her collar quietly identified her as a commander, though few people in the ballroom recognized her face. That anonymity suited her. Years of highly sensitive assignments had taught her that recognition was rarely the reward for the most difficult work. She paused near the entrance long enough to greet an elderly retired captain who had once instructed advanced navigation courses. They exchanged respectful smiles before she continued deeper into the ballroom. Several junior officers glanced in her direction, noticing the confidence in her stride, but quickly returned to their conversations. Maya accepted a glass of sparkling water from a passing server and moved toward a display featuring naval innovations and historical operations. She preferred observing rather than becoming the center of attention. Across the room stood Admiral Richard Hawthorne, one of the Navy's most celebrated SEAL leaders. Tall, broad-shouldered, and carrying decades of command experience, he had earned countless decorations throughout a career filled with dangerous operations. Younger officers admired him, and many gathered nearby hoping for a chance to exchange a few words with the famous admiral. Hawthorne enjoyed commanding every room he entered. His sharp humor and fearless reputation made him the undeniable focal point of the evening. As conversations flowed around him, his attention settled on Maya. He narrowed his eyes slightly, studying the unfamiliar commander walking with quiet confidence. He couldn't immediately place her name, and that irritated him more than he admitted. Most officers attending an event like this had crossed his path at some point. Seeing someone whose reputation was unknown to him felt unusual. He excused himself from the group surrounding him and strode confidently across the ballroom. The conversations nearby softened as people noticed the admiral approaching. Maya turned politely when she heard his footsteps. "Good evening, Admiral." Instead of returning the greeting, Hawthorne looked directly at the silver oak leaves on her collar. "Commander," he said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Did someone accidentally promote you while I was away?" A few officers chuckled. Several others exchanged uncertain glances. Maya answered evenly. "My promotion followed the standard review process, sir." The admiral smiled as though entertaining an audience. "Interesting. These days promotions seem to arrive much faster than they used to." More laughter spread through the nearby crowd. A young lieutenant laughed the loudest, eager to impress the admiral. Maya remained composed. "My evaluations met every required standard." Hawthorne slowly circled around her, examining her uniform with exaggerated curiosity. "I've commanded SEAL teams for over 3 decades, he continued. "Usually I know every officer who's climbed this far." His words hung heavily in the air. Another captain quietly lowered his eyes, sensing the conversation had become unnecessarily personal. Maya met the admiral's gaze without hesitation. "There are many assignments where visibility isn't part of the mission, sir." The answer drew silence instead of laughter. The admiral folded his arms. "That's one way to explain it." He glanced toward several officers watching the exchange. "You look surprisingly relaxed for someone carrying that rank." Maya gave a small nod. "Confidence comes from preparation." A faint smile appeared on the face of an older Master Chief standing several feet away. He admired her restraint. The admiral wasn't finished. "You don't mind a little humor, do you?" Not at all, sir. Good, Hawthorne replied. Because everyone could use a reminder not to take themselves too seriously. A few people laughed again, although less enthusiastically than before. The room felt different now. Some guests became uncomfortable watching an accomplished commander serve as the target of public jokes. Others remained silent, unwilling to challenge one of the Navy's highest-ranking leaders. Maya never raised her voice. She never defended herself beyond short, respectful answers. Years of disciplined service had taught her that composure often revealed more strength than arguments ever could. She simply said, "Respect is something every uniform deserves, Admiral." The sentence landed with unexpected weight. For a brief moment, Hawthorne's confident smile faded. Then he shrugged. "Relax, Commander. It's only a joke." Maya inclined her head politely. "I understand, sir." She turned smoothly and continued walking toward the historical operations exhibit, leaving the Admiral standing with his audience. Behind her, whispers filled the ballroom. Some believed she had been embarrassed. Others wondered why she had remained so calm. None of them knew that Commander Maya Brooks had spent years serving in missions so highly classified that her achievements had never appeared in official ceremonies, newspapers, or public commendations. While many officers built reputations through visible leadership, Maya had built hers in silence, carrying responsibilities that demanded complete anonymity. The people laughing moments earlier had no idea they were watching someone whose decisions had quietly shaped operations that history would never fully reveal. Commander Maya Brooks continued toward the historical operations exhibit as conversations gradually returned to normal. Although the Admiral's remarks still lingered in the minds of many guests, she refused to let them distract her. Years of disciplined service had taught her to separate emotion from duty. She studied the display cases lining the ballroom walls, each containing photographs, mission maps, retired equipment, and carefully preserved artifacts representing decades of naval history. Every exhibit honored teamwork rather than individual recognition, a philosophy she understood better than almost anyone present. Nearby, military historians discussed famous rescue operations while younger officers admired stories of courage recorded on digital displays. Maya quietly examined a framed photograph of a joint maritime mission conducted many years earlier. The faces of the operators were intentionally blurred to protect identities, yet she recognized every shoreline, every aircraft, and every detail of the operation. She remembered the sleepless nights, the tension before deployment, and the responsibility carried by people whose names would never appear in history books. A security officer approached carrying a sealed electronic case. "Commander Brooks?" She turned. "Yes. I have a classified attendance verification requiring your secure signature." She nodded. "Of course." The officer opened the encrypted tablet, confirmed her identity, and handed it to her. Only a small number of guests required this additional verification because of the sensitive nature of their assignments. Maya removed her white ceremonial glove from her left hand. As she reached for the electronic stylus, the cuff of her dress uniform shifted slightly upward. For only a second, the inside of her forearm became visible. A small black tattoo appeared just above her wrist. Simple. Faded. Almost invisible unless someone knew exactly what to look for. Across the room, Admiral Richard Hawthorne happened to glance in her direction while continuing another conversation. His eyes landed on the marking. His sentence stopped halfway. The smile disappeared from his face. He stared. The officers around him noticed his sudden silence. "Sir?" No response. His attention remained fixed on the tiny symbol before Maya's sleeve naturally slipped back into place. His heartbeat seemed to slow. It couldn't be. Not here. Not after all these years. Without saying another word, he excused himself from the conversation and walked steadily toward the exhibit. The confidence that had defined him earlier had been replaced by careful uncertainty. Maya finished signing the secure document and handed the tablet back. "Thank you. Thank you, Commander." The security officer departed. Only then did Hawthorne stop a few feet away. His expression had completely changed. "Commander Brooks." She turned calmly. "Yes, Admiral?" His voice was noticeably quieter than before. "A moment, if you don't mind." "Certainly." For several seconds he simply looked at her, as though trying to solve a mystery buried deep within his memory. Finally he asked, "Where did you receive that tattoo?" Maya's face remained unreadable. "I'm afraid I can't discuss assignment-related identifiers, sir." The answer was professional. Respectful. But it confirmed exactly what he feared. Very few people even knew such markings existed. Even fewer were authorized to wear one. Hawthorne looked toward the harbor outside the ballroom windows, his thoughts racing backward through time. 15 years earlier. A hostile coastline. A classified operation. His SEAL assault element had become trapped after unexpected resistance cut off their extraction route. Communication systems failed one after another. Enemy positions surrounded their location from elevated terrain, making movement nearly impossible. The mission should have ended in disaster. Then the impossible began. One precise shot echoed across the valley. Another followed. Then another. Each threat disappeared before reaching Hawthorne's team. The sniper fired from so far away that none of the operators could locate the position. Every shot created another opening. Every opening allowed another member of the assault force to survive. Within minutes an impossible escape route emerged. By sunrise every surviving operator had been extracted safely. Official reports credited an unnamed long-range support element. No identity. No photographs. No public recognition. Only a classified note stating that extraordinary precision had prevented catastrophic losses. For years Hawthorne had wondered who that unseen marksman had been. Now he looked back at Commander Brooks. His voice barely rose above a whisper. "I've only seen that insignia once." She remained silent. It belonged to the task force assigned to overwatch operations. Again she offered no confirmation. She simply met his eyes. Silence itself became the answer. The Admiral's shoulders lowered. A realization settled over him with overwhelming clarity. The woman he had mocked before dozens of officers wasn't simply another commander attending a formal event. She belonged to one of the most secretive operational communities ever assembled. The anonymous sniper whose accuracy had protected countless service members had been standing in front of him all evening. He remembered radio transmissions filled with relief. He remembered helicopters lifting wounded teammates to safety. He remembered writing letters to families because everyone believed they might never return home. None of that would have happened without the unseen overwatch hidden miles away. His gaze dropped briefly toward the floor. For the first time that evening, Admiral Richard Hawthorne found himself without a clever remark. Without a joke. Without confidence. Only respect remained. Around them, conversations continued, music played softly, and officers celebrated another successful year of service, completely unaware that one of the Navy's greatest untold heroes stood quietly among them while one of its most decorated admirals struggled to process the truth he had just uncovered. The balance of the evening had changed forever, even though almost no one in the ballroom realized it yet.